Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about one simple way to instantly help you to become a great dribbler. Let's get going. So one thing a lot of players tend to struggle with is actually changing the direction sharply and also the body feints. Now, that is due to this one thing, in which is actually a plant foot. We talked about, well, I do talk about the plant foot quite a lot. The distance that we have to keep from the ball, whether it's behind, level with it, or higher in front of the ball, the plant foot matters a lot when it comes to your dribbling and also changing the directions. And in this case, we're going to be using our inside and outside to help you become so much better at dribbling. It is one of the simplest ways to learn how to dribble, an absolute fundamental that anyone can start doing. So what happens is, a lot of times when we're dribbling with our inside and outside, if you look at my right foot, when we're touching the ball, carrying the ball with our inside and outside, my left foot tends to come almost very close to the ball. Now, naturally, this will help me to push the ball rather straight. So take a look one more time. If I were to go this way, and there's one simple way to make this so much better in terms of your timing and in terms of how your body travels to carry the ball. And that is by moving our plant foot a lot wider after the inside touch. So it should look like inside and outside. And by going further away from the ball, we naturally take our shoulder to drop, and then we can take the touch with our outside. So take a look at this. After the inside touch, we're not coming very close to the ball. We're actually coming maybe at least 2 feet, even 3 feet away. So our left foot should come here. So that way our feet are nice and wide. And also this will help us to get lower. Make sure your body's shifting towards your left knee here. If you're going to take the touch with your right foot outside, make sure your body weight is shifting. And also, because now I am level with the ball, if I were to just come and stand neutrally, look at this. Now the ball is outside of my body. And because we're level with the ball, my touch will naturally come on the side of the ball. And this will help us to get around the defender a little bit more. And one thing, especially at the youth level, what we tend to notice is when the player is trying to maneuver the ball side to side, because our plant foot is so narrow, players tend to take the touch forward, and in result, we tend to run into the players. I'm pretty sure you have seen this a lot. So now this is okay if there's a lot of distance between the player and the opposition, because with the smaller angle, we can still get around the player. However, if the defender gets closer and closer, we need to make sure that our plant foot becomes further and further away, so that way my natural outside touch can be made from the side of the ball, and in results, I take the touch out to the side laterally. Now, why is this important? If the defender is close, we have to get around the range of the tackles or the poke. And this is going to help us greatly because we're trying to get away from the defender's reach, and then this can help us to get around the tackle. And just look how much sharper the turn becomes, or the change of direction becomes. If I need to say catch the ball and turn back around quickly, my plant foot would be ahead, so that way I can be level with the ball, so that way the direction or the change of direction can be sharp. So I would say this is one very simple way to help you greatly improve like this, just by fixing where your plant foot goes. Now we can start to move the ball side to side. We just talked about the plant foot and the touch outside. How about the ones after? So another step and the inside. Well, take a look at this. So we go step, come wide, outside touch, one step across the body, and then naturally we can take the touch outside. So in more real motion, you can look there and there. Step, touch, step, inside. I might even add the inside before the outside, so we can connect it a little bit more. So we can go touch, step, touch. As you get better at this, try and get used to the rhythm and the sequence. So take a look. 1 and 2 and 1. In and out, step in. Let's go one more time. And then we can use this sequence to start from the back, maybe travel about 10 to 15 yards. And that's going to be our basic practice. Now, we're gonna get to the point where we're trying to utilize this technique to come up with different variations. Again, this is the absolute fundamental, and this is the concept that I want you to learn. Hello there. If you like this video, please subscribe. My goal is to get to 30,000 by the end of the year. and I'm nearly halfway there. Help me out. So let's practice our basics. So we go in, step in, step out, touch and out, touch and out, touch and out, touch and out. So when you're practicing this, one big thing is going to be the inside touch is not necessarily pushing the ball. It's more like a catch. And also on the outside touch, we're not moving the ball too heavy. We want to be able to take one step and be able to catch the ball right away with our inside again. And then notice how I am not taking any extra steps or extra touches. So this is all connected. Touch, step, and step. So it's inside, step, outside and step, inside, step, outside and step. Try and shift all of your body weight towards the plant foot, and that's going to help us to get a little bit lower. And also for your inside touch, don't forget to come across your body, so that way the next step becomes a lot easier for our inside touch. The last thing I want to talk about for this absolute basics is the direction of the touch. Make sure you're a little bit more conscious about where you're making the contact, because we do not want it to be diagonally or slightly behind the ball, as that's going to push the ball forward. What we want to do is try and make the contact from the side, so that way we can carry the ball side to side a little bit more, moving it laterally. So the variation could be, we do the very sequence on the first one. However, on the second one, we actually do not touch the ball with our inside. And then instead, we come to the ground and then we plant wide and then we touch the ball with our outside. Take a look, it shouldn't be too hard. Inside, step, outside, step. And instead of taking the touch with our inside, we come to the ground, step, and then outside to finish. Always try and go both feet, get comfortable using both sides. One and two, and one and two. There, one and two, and one and two. Okay, so the point of this variation, we do the first sequence to move the ball outside, but say the defender follows us really well, tracks us really well. But instead of going with the same rhythm, so the same tempo and the same technique, we're actually taking half a tempo, half a speed earlier to the outside. And that is done using the little fake step and fall and coming out. The most important thing about this part is as soon as you touch the ground, you need to fall into this knee. You've got to be able to shift all of your weight going this way, and then we push the ball out together with the outside. And I promise you, this variation is going to help you to get around the defender or lose the defender really quickly. Because another variation that you can do to this, after the fall, you can turn it into the turn. So let's try that. So obviously I took it really slowly, but again, the concept is you try and shift the defender, and then we take the touch, then we take a little half a step early to take the touch again, but the pressure might be a little too hard, and you just want to protect the ball by turning. A player I can think of that has done this greatly almost all the time, I would say David Silva. At a very small figure, none of the oppositions could get anywhere near him. Why? Because he was so good at turning with his outside, dropping his shoulders and hiding the ball. The setup I have is also really simple. I have 5 cones that are laid out. The distance is 1, 2, 3 big steps. That's the width. And the gap is 1, 2 and half. 1, 2 and half. 1, 2, and half. Let's get going. So you go in, step out, and in, step out, then pause, in, step out, then in, step out, and pause, in, step out, and in, step out, and pause, in, step out, and in, step out, and pause. Now, I just used my sole to pause the ball, but obviously, if you want to keep that rolling, you can use your inside, you can use different surfaces. And that can be your variation as well. Try working on different surfaces to pause the ball or to simply change the direction from going right foot to left foot. Our focus always should be where our plant foot is going to go. So a little touch with the inside and a big drop of our plant foot further away from the ball, so that way my foot can come in to gently push the ball. Be conscious of your plant foot. One and out and pause. One and out. One and out, across and pause. Step wide, across, touch, and wide and across, touch. 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and pause. No extra touches, no extra steps. Keep it flowing. Let's go one more time, and this time I'll try and keep it more real speed. 1 and 2, and 2, there. Now, I'm not sure if you just noticed, but after my first cycle, as the ball's moving from my outside, and then I take a step. Now, our next cycle obviously entails the inside touch, and the step and the outside touch, correct? The little tip I can give you, when you push the ball with the outside on your initial touch, if you push it just hard enough, you do not have to touch the ball heavy on the inside, because then you'll be redirecting the ball to the left, and that's going to slow you down or cut the momentum of you traveling to the right. That is not what we want. So how do we take our touch? Well, it has to be little soft touch, push outside, step across, and just feel the ball, and that is enough for you to fall and then take the touch. Now, this is going to help you to keep the ball rolling almost in the same direction without slowing the ball down. And also, it's going to help you to simply use your body a little bit more to shift the body weight and getting used to that little flow state of being bouncy, being wide, being low. And again, in result, you get to move the defenders a little bit more. Think about the whole point of this video. We are trying to get better at dribbling. And the first thing is going to be always to move away from the defender. Because of that, if we happen to take our second inside touch back inside, we just might be running into the player. So practice, right? Subtle, wide, sideways, there, subtle and wide. 1, 2, and 2, there. 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. 1 and 2, 1 and 2. 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Oh, okay, so that's the very, very fundamental stuff. We get to move the ball wide, which is much better than moving it like this. The biggest reason why players run into the players or the oppositions. And also, we get to move the ball laterally away from the defender's tackle range. So simply by putting your plant foot out wide, we get to move the ball laterally a lot easier. We look good. Our forms get a lot better. You get to control the ball in bigger space. And you're actually in more of control than this by keeping the ball in front of you. So let's do the variation. So the first cycle, it's going to be the same thing. Inside, step, outside, step. The next cycle, we're not doing the inside touch. We're going to be coming down onto the ground. Then we'll push the ball out with the outside. Let's get going. And if it helps, count the beats. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Yeah. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Notice how the inside, step, outside, and step, that beat is more like touch, step, but instead, when we just land into the ground, instead of taking the inside touch, the beat more or so becomes touch, step, and step. 1, 2, 1 and 2, right? Because we're not necessarily connecting with the ball again, with our inside, we get to land into the ground early, and then we get to fall much earlier. So the timing is slightly different. It's a little subtle difference that makes a huge outcome. A little detail there. When you land into the ground, right, you have to make that motion where you are actually about to take that touch. And that's what sells the defender. So you don't just come here or further away from the ball. You've got to come close to the ball to look like you're actually about to take that touch. And when you do so, because if you watched our previous video, defenders have to worry about the space behind. And what if that touch is a big one? So the defender will naturally, just a little bit, will do one of those to run behind or to get prepared. And that's what we're using to create a little bit of separation to get away from the player. So it's important that we understand the concept before we just drill it out. Got it? So let's work on the technique and the timing. So take a look. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. There. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. The last variation I would love to show you is actually to incorporate maybe a scissors. And it's quite simple. We're gonna do the normal first cycle. Then on the second, we'll actually touch the ball. Maybe you might not even touch the ball with our inside. And then we'll throw the scissors to change the direction one more time. We go. In, step, out, step, in, and touch, around. In, step, in, around, out. In, step, touch, step, 1, 2, and out. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 1, out. Ah! In this video, we talked about how far your plant foot should actually go to help you look better and feel better, and then dribble better. With wider plant foot, we can move the ball laterally even more, and that can give us the result of getting around the defender so much easier. And hopefully, by using this simple technique or simple change in behavior is going to stop you from running into the players. So thanks for watching again. Please subscribe, and we'll see you soon.